Welcome to the Education Marketing Leader podcast with Chris Raposo. If you're looking to dive into the latest industry insights, draw inspiration from education success stories, or just want to sharpen your marketing skills, you're in the right place. Here, we bring you a diverse range of voices from experts and leaders in the field, offering you a unique blend of professional development and practical strategies. Whether you want to understand your audience better, stay updated with the latest tech trends in marketing, or expand your professional network, we've got you covered. So while you're driving on your morning commute or winding down after a busy day, let's explore the dynamic world of education marketing together.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Education Marketing Leader. My name is Chris Raposo. Today I have the pleasure of welcoming Jenny Martin, Director of Web and Digital Communications, and Tim Wombles, Manager of Web and Digital Communications at the University of Missouri, St. Louis. Jenny and Tim, welcome to the show.
Hi, Chris. Thank you.
Hello, good to be here. Thanks.
So the reason we're here today is because Jenny and Tim will present at the 2024 Cascade User Conference and how they and their team reclaimed their university website. But before we get into this, Jenny and Tim, tell us a little bit about your backgrounds and what brought you to UMSL, University of Missouri, St. Louis, and what do you love about working in higher ed marketing?
Happy to be here. I started my career in higher education, actually in the advancement side of the world. Spent a few years there and then transitioned over to marketing communications. Took on a web role right out of the gate pretty much, and have been there ever since. Kind of found my little niche. I am a big proponent of education. I've seen what education has done in my own life. And it means a lot to be able to support a mission-driven institution to make their front door better and spread the word.
Tim?
Yeah, I actually came to UMSL as a graduate assistant for creative writing, and it just so happened, this was in late 2011, it just so happened that there was a graduate assistant position open in the marketing communications office, and we were moving our websites over into Cascade for the first time, and I was on that team. And I had always liked, the internet and technology and stuff, so it ended up being a good fit. But after that, the College of Arts and Sciences at UMSL realized they needed a kind of permanent person to help maintain all their websites. There's about 40 total in the college. So I was hired there. Then I was brought back to Marcom to be part of the beginning of a centralized web team. And what I like most about, being here is I discovered I had a passion for helping communicate or provide in what little way I can access to opportunity. And it's really fulfilling to see the students, thousands come and go, and they all use our website. And just to think that I had a small part in that.
Yeah, absolutely, Tim. And we've heard it before that the higher ed website is the #1 recruiting tool for prospective students. So I'm sure that you had a small part in getting some people on campus to help them make their lives better. But let's talk about the user conference presentation that you're going to give on how to reclaim a website. So just a little bit of background about University of Missouri St. Louis's web presence in the past. So I heard that the website was managed by over 400 people, and you had 300 different sites with little administrative and campus buy-in for a central digital strategy. But then in 2022, probably in the height of the pandemic, the first central web team was established. And since then, you've worked to bring order and purpose to your website through cohesive branding, reimagining structure, and modern features. So Jenny and Tim, can you give us a little bit of an overview of the state of the University of Missouri St. Louis's digital spaces before 2020, and what motivated the shift towards a centralized digital strategy?
Yeah, so I can speak a little bit to the background. Pretty much the way it worked was after we did the initial transfer. I mean, previously, 2010 and before, it was kind of a patchwork system, some Dreamweaver, some Drupal, and all that. And there was an acknowledgement that we needed a central CMS. So the administration put forward that strategy, and we worked on, transitioning all the sites into Cascade. But after that, it was kind of a one and done project. They kept a developer on staff, and kind of the site returned to the way it had been before, just in Cascade instead of other CMSs. And we basically had 300 sites, 400 users, and they all kind of operated autonomously. Training was actually provided by the IT department, so there was some lack of continuity between the training and then the later site assistants. Marcom as an office didn't really have a very proactive approach to the website. There was no cohesive branding or like general best practices, no focus on telling people about accessibility or anything like that. So pretty much people were and they do good work, and they try hard, but it's difficult when it's not really their main job and there's so many things to do on the web. So that's kind of how it was before. And eventually, I think, the administration and the marketing communications leadership started pushing to have a more central team to make sure everything was updated and brand aligned and all of that. And then there was also a leadership change at the university, which was a key part of that. And just when there's change at the administrative level, you can sort of bring up things that you think should be done, and maybe there's some more reception there sometimes.
It's always good to have the leadership buy-in from the top, but of course, if you have over 400 people working on a website, there may be some pushback. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced in transitioning from a web presence managed by over 400 individuals to a more centralized approach? Was there any pushback?
There's always a little pushback when you make big changes like that. I think some of the biggest things that have been helpful for us in this transition is taking the time to communicate with those 400 people and the other leaders throughout campus to get them on board with what we wanted to do and what our vision was, what the university was going to back. Having it come from the top down is key. That gives you support in leadership places. And it's difficult to get much done if that's not the case. Training is also a big space. As Tim mentioned, just being able to educate people on best practices and what we should be doing has also been helpful in kind of making that transition easier, because they hear and they see things that are supposed to be done, and then they have people who know how to do that.
Absolutely. Those brand guidelines, just to know what needs to be done, clear communication. We always say clear is kind. Obviously, there were many aspects that needed attention. How do you go about setting the priorities for the website redevelopment when you did that in 2020?
We were given, I came in as leader of the team in 2020, and we brought in several other people and merged Tim and a couple others that were here on campus already. And we were given directions, specifically primary focus should be enrollment management. And I think that's fairly typical across the spectrum in higher ed. So that's how we set priorities when we first kind of started deciding what we were going to do. What would have the most effect on prospective students, and how could we make that information more accessible to them?
Yeah, and so some of our early projects in this time were admissions website, obviously, and then we also redid our cashiers and student financial services website. Obviously, students are using that a lot. And then we also made more standardized degree pages with an easy, visible RFI, standardized, getting people into our CRM, things like that. It was all enrollment driven, as Jenny mentioned. And we did have the administration backing us, so that makes it a lot easier.
That's right. That's right. If it comes down from the top, it's a lot easier to get those balls moving. But, like we touched on a little bit earlier, change can often be met with resistance. So how do you communicate your strategy and the reason for the significant change to the various stakeholders? How'd you go about that?
I think some of that was probably done before I came on scene. At the very top level, some of that groundwork was laid. I know from our perspective, as we discussed priorities or things we need to do, just communicating and reaching out to people and working closely with the people who have the content knowledge, making sure that we're correct, especially with our major and degree pages. How can we work with faculty to best develop content that's helpful and is truthful and supports the reason why students should enroll in their program?
No, sorry, I was just going to add really quick that the enrollment numbers were not as predictable as maybe people thought. So there was always the real actual numbers. To be blunt, we had some, declining enrollment. So that's kind of the thing we need to address, and that allowed us to communicate to people, hey, there's an issue.
Yeah, when we can actually showcase the numbers, and say, hey, there's a little bit of urgency there. We got to do something. We got to change something in order to keep the university alive and keep us driving. Who are some of the main contributors on your campus? Is it the faculty?
We have a pretty good mix, site managers. So yeah, there are some faculty members who have been doing their website since the 90s, and they just enjoy that. So they, a couple departments here and there have professors, and then there's staff members, probably the largest contingent. And again, these staff members, it's not their only job usually. And then we also have some graduate assistants, a good amount of those who cycle in and out and, learn it, or they're working on an internship or something like that.
Absolutely. So as we know, good branding builds trust and familiarity. So how did you approach the task of creating a cohesive branding for the website, and what impact has it had on the university's digital identity? I know you said it went downhill first a little bit, declining enrollment. Did it go back up?
Yeah, it's stabilized for sure. And we're hoping, looking forward, it looks, the picture is looking much better. So just judging by some numbers.
Awesome. And how about the approach to creating a cohesive branding for your website? How'd you go about that?
So being in Cascade, we were able to use a template that obviously helps with some of that brand consistency, which is helpful. And it's the benefit of using a CMS. Just in the last year, we've updated kind of our enrollment management brand university-wide. So we've done some implementation across the board, and with using a CMS system and being able to communicate with people, having that established channel, we're able to say, hey, we've got new branding coming out. We're going to update a few things on the template so we can better reach all of the pages. We can update our photography. We can send you to our newly created branding site, so you can get some assets or view the rules, see what's happening, so you can better help us support you, as well as the changes we made to the template. So I think all of that kind of working together, rolling that new brand out, went really smoothly. We were able to do that kind of from the top down while talking about it with people, which I think helped too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to have those brand guidelines. And it's also good to have the granular permissions in Cascade. So you have the end users that can't just go rogue and put whatever sort of colors they like.
Yep.
But as you know, implementing a new website structure can often create friction. How do you manage to minimize disruptions on the website for users and content creators during that process?
So it's been a slow process, and it's been a slow process intentionally. I think, anytime you come in and blow something up, it doesn't go over well. So I know when I came in, the thought was to learn as much as I could to get to know the institution and get to know the people as well as I could. Talk with Tim, who's been here for quite a while, to figure out how to approach things in the best way. And we've come up with, we didn't kick half of our users out at first. We went through a cycle to start, communicating with people. If you don't need access, then let's not give you access. Let's find a way to make sure the right people have access to the CMS so they can do their jobs and call it good. Finding a way to kind of meet in the middle and compromise when we can has also been a huge help. There are things that we like to do that people are hesitant about or they have questions about. So it's always having a conversation about, this is why we did X, Y, and Z, or we can do this and this, but maybe not this. But we're fine with that, and we want you to have input.
Maybe we've been lucky, but our users have been largely cooperative and open, and having a
Yep.
good response, an open user base helps with that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So when I read your topic description for the presentation you're going to have at the Cascade User Conference, you shared some of the specific examples of innovative features you integrated into the new website and how they've enhanced the user experience for different audiences. Can you tell us a little bit about that background?
We've created a few new items in the last really year and a half. We've finally gotten to the point where we can start creating instead of just fixing, which is exciting. We've put in a new faculty and staff directory that's based off the Hannon Hill model. That's worked really well, and people across campus are excited to see it and to use it. They all want one, so that's great, because that really helps shore up your faculty profiles. It's searchable, so we've had a lot of success with that. We've been able to build some templates with some form integrations, which has been helpful, especially for our admissions folks when they want to, collect short form information. That's important. Our major and degree pages use those consistently, and that's been really nice kind of modernization of our program pages.
Well, a couple other things. We were able to implement an API that pulls direct degree information directly from our bulletin or course listings. And that helped a lot to standardize the information, because that gets updated once a year. The faculty and the provost and everybody's involved. So there's not all this competing information on all these departmental degree pages. That was pretty big. And we also implemented things like an easy way for them to have an RSS feed so that they can get some stories, news about the department or the students in the department, and they can put that on their website. We similarly, we were able to create an event calendar embed, which we can put on their site. And then we also started implementing a universal top navigation system, which brings some cohesiveness to the site.
If you reflect on the journey, what are some of the key lessons you've learned that could be beneficial to other universities looking to undertake a similar transformation?
My number one is patience. It takes a while. It doesn't go as fast as you want it to. There's lots of times in the last, 3.5 years where I just have to repeat patience in my head, because I know what needs to be done and I see where we're going and I know what needs to happen, but there's so many moving parts and so many people involved that it just takes longer. And we get there. It's just patience.
Yeah, I will say having a big picture up front and a way to clearly describe the need for it and how it will look and feel. I noticed that as we were going through, once we had a couple of site redesigns under our belt, the other departments and parties we approached kind of were more enthusiastic, because they could see the top nav, they could see the directory. So have some of those elements ready to go, or at least examples of them, so that you can show them literal things up front. That helped a lot.
As you are well aware, there's something coming up that's called the demographic enrollment cliff. Just wanted to know what some of the future plans were there to navigate that through your website.
You definitely know it's coming. It's been coming for years. I think the best thing that we can do to help our enrollment management team navigate the challenges of admissions is just to be easily accessible and easy to navigate. We want to have a good user experience. We want prospective students to be able to find the information that they need to reach out to UMSL and make that connection with our admissions team, so then they can do their jobs. and convert them into students. And the best thing we can do is make it clear and concise and easy to use.
So there's a few things that, I mean, we kind of have to see how it shakes out, what the future looks like, but you know, we're interested in looking you know, beyond traditional student, how we can service maybe our corporate partners or continuing education, adult learners, transfer students, things like that. So we recently are starting here at UMSL the Advanced Workforce Center, so we're very involved in like building that site, which will engage with corporations in the area and maybe have some employees there come to UMSL and get some certifications. So it's very much in flux, and we're staying on top of all the technologies and trends and trying to predict it just like everyone else.
Exactly. You'll be able to navigate it once I think the people that's going to have a problem is if they're sticking to their guns and they just want to have those traditional age students that are dwindling. So diversifying is definitely the way to go here. Now, if people want to get in touch with you, obviously they can come to the user conference and watch your session and connect with you that way. But outside of that, what's a good way to get in touch with you to learn more about you and the way you've done things on your website?
People can find me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty searchable. And email address is on the website, easy to find, umsl.edu.
Yeah, same. Feel free to send me a message or something on LinkedIn or email womblest@umsl.edu. Happy to chat.
Awesome, team. Thanks so much for your time today. I'll see you in a few weeks, and you have a good one.
Thanks so much, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Hey, thanks so much for tuning into the show today. If you enjoyed it, don't keep it to yourself. Share with your friends in your network. And if you have a moment, I would really appreciate a review of the podcast. That'll help other people find the show as well. Tune in every Thursday morning at 8 a.m. when I release another episode. Take care now. Have a good one, friends.